You all can see, right? Okay. So distinguished guests, distinguished HoloBase users, and all the friends, I'm happy to welcome your participation in HoloBase online event. I'm Linda from HoloBase team. Greetings from China. Hi, everyone. And this is the first event of our 5 online events. The theme of our series of events is changes and opportunities in post-pandemic era in Southeast Asia. Today, we have friends from all over the world to take part in this conversation, and this is really a valuable opportunity for all of us to communicate and exchange ideas, especially in this globalized world. So I encourage you to participate in our discussion later, no matter if you have questions or you want to share things about your home market. Also, if you're maybe too shy to speak or you have problem with your mic, you can also type in the chat room and we can see you. For anyone who hasn't signed up for HoloBase, you can go to our website or download HoloBase app in the App Store. And if you haven't joined our HoloBase community on WhatsApp, there's a link in the chat room. You are also welcome to invite your friends to join us. Okay, now if you can hear me clearly, you can wave your hands to the camera and say hi to everyone. Thank you so much. So everyone can hear me, right? Let's get started then. As we have all experienced at the beginning of 2020, the COVID-19 pandemic has had an impact that cannot be ignored. The challenges brought by the pandemic have shaken the global market. The large-scale closure of cities in China, Southeast Asia, India, Europe, and the United States has brought direct challenges to the survival of enterprises. The COVID-19 pandemic and related confinement measures has not only changed the world market, but also the psychology, consciousness, and behavior of consumers, which our speakers will talk more about. Therefore, how can we complete a win-win investment and financing, and how can we survive this epidemic? These all are worth reflecting on, and we will talk more about it. First, let me briefly introduce the meeting agenda today. For the next hour, our speaker, Richard, will start with a presentation of about 20 to 30 minutes, sharing his idea about the changes in global capital markets in the post-pandemic era. Then a HoloBase user speaker, Cobus Burgers from South Africa, will share with us the market changes there for about 15 minutes. Then there will be a 10 to 15 minute Q&A session. At last, we'll have a 10 to 15 minute discussion session. Our team has already prepared a topic for all of us to discuss. So today we invited Richard Xu from Grandview Capital to talk about changes on awareness, trends, and opportunities of internet entrepreneurship in the post-pandemic era. Mr. Xu is the U.S. head of Grandview Capital, focusing on TMT and EAS industry. He is experienced in Chinese go overseas and cross-border business. GVC is a cross-border fund which has more than 40 portfolios in the US, South Asia, Africa, and China, including Hobby, Hola, One Piece Work, etc. So first, let's warmly welcome our first distinguished speaker, Richard Xu from Grandview Capital. I'll stop sharing first and allow me a few seconds to unmute Richard, sorry. Okay, you can start now, Richard. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Linda. Thank you. So briefly say hello to everyone. So currently I'm at Silicon Valley, stuck here, cannot fly to anywhere. So it is so good to have a e-meet with you guys on Zoom. Thank you for the technology. And today, when Linda's team talked with me about this presentation to discuss a little bit about the post-pandemic stuff, so I'm very happy. I think this is a chance for us to also get some idea, inspiration from you guys. So I think I'll do a brief introduction and some presentation, and later on we can discuss more in the Q&A part. So let me share my screen to you guys. So I have slides. Okay, you guys can see that without any problem, right? Okay, so actually today I want to throw out some questions and discuss a little bit about the post-pandemic situations with you guys. So the topic is related from the startups and also the venture capitals. There are some highlights about my presentation in those 20 minutes. So firstly, I will go back to the current industry outlook. And later on the second part, I want to discuss a little bit about the changes under pandemic trends, some mentally changes to people's feeling, people's idea. And later on, we will dig into some of the opportunities in future, maybe in the short future. Last part, I will briefly introduce a little bit the introduction of Grandview Capital. Okay, so let's move on to the first part. So actually, before the pandemic, if we talking about this presentation at the end of last year, no one knows it. We would see some trends. For example, the worldwide VC deals slowed down. So this is a trend that happens actually before the pandemic. And also, we can see another trend very important is that the consumer market trend is switching very fastly from the west to the east. So we can, here I didn't put any data about the consumer market, but if we try to find something online that we can see that the market like US, South America, and the Euro market is growing very slowly. But the market in China, in Southeast Asia, in India is growing very rapidly. And also some of the other emerging markets like the South America, all the consumer markets is growing very rapidly. So I would say that it is a trend already existed before the pandemic. So, and another trend is also the offline to online. I think in China, like 5 years ago, there exists a trend about the online TMT industry something. And also, I know that several years before, many of the Chinese companies that expand to Southeast Asia to do the similar thing. So we can see Lazada in Southeast Asia. We can see the Tencent in Africa. So it's very similar. So we were facing a trend that from the offline to online. So those are all the trends that happens before the pandemic. But after the pandemic, I would say that some of the trends maybe changed and some of them maybe accelerated. So let's dig into a little bit about the changes after the pandemic time. I would say everyone everyone knows that the pandemic is not the thing we want, but we have to see that some of the people's idea has been changed because of the pandemic. I would introduce a little bit about the mentality, and also we will discuss a little bit about the globalization and something about the economy and the competitions. So firstly, I would say that after the pandemic, there are a lot of very important changes to mentality. So people will feel in a different way. So first thing I want to share is that the people will facing some different ideas towards the safety awareness, towards the healthy concept. So for example, everyone is wearing the face masks, and in US, many people try to purchase the guns. I know it is not usual in most of the countries. And people try to stock more suppliers in supplies like the food, like more water in the house. So I would say that the safety awareness has been changed. And also for another very big topic we are talking about is the liberty and the reliability. It's about the privacy. So you know that in China, many actually all the people in China currently they have to has a QR code to to show their status about their healthy. If they went to some place which are now considered healthy to the COVID-19, the code will turn into red. So this thing will share very personal information like the locations, like your activities to the government, which trading a lot of the privacy informations. And I would say that this kind of thing will happen more and more. And in US, we can see the similar thing that Apple and Google are developing some of the similar stuffs too, either on the devices or on some other stuffs. So I would say that people are trying to balance the future in the liberty, balance the thing, the liberty and also the privacy. So we have to trading more liberty to healthy and reliability. So this is a trend that we can see after the pandemic. And the third one I want to talk is about the true productivity. So many of the US companies, especially the big companies in Silicon Valley, like the Twitter, like Airbnb, they told their employees that you guys can permanently working from home. So this is a very different one that people start to notice some of the work, some of the activities can be done from home, can be done online. So I think the people will adapt to the remote working mode, and also they will have a different understanding of the efficiency and productivity in the future. So for example, so currently Apple shut down all the international trips, and they start to feel like that their work didn't be influenced a lot. So maybe in future, they will decrease the amount of the international travel a lot. So I think this is this productivity change will influence a lot of the activities in the big company and also the employees of them. The last one is the consumption downgrade. So many of the country, for example, in US, the president start to write checks to the to different to other people. So actually, the many people losing their jobs, and also people having limited resources. So many people start to rethink the way they spend their money and time. So I think there will be some changes on the idea of the consumption. And we will dig into the opportunities generated by those change of the ideas later on. Okay, let me move to the next page. So the new era of the globalization, I think this is a very important one, because previously we are facing globalization that many of the countries that building the factories, especially the manufacturing in China. After the pandemic, many countries start to say that to concentrate some of the supply chains in one or two countries are not that reliable for the future's world. So we were facing a new globalization, that supply chain shifting from one or two big country to widely spread into different areas. So what does this mean? So in future, for example, probably there will be different centers of the globalization. So in America, in Europe, in Southeast Asia, in India, there will be different kinds of the centers in different countries, and they can cover different areas. So I think that in future, the globalization will facing a shuffling in future. Okay. And the last one is something related to economy. So I put this page, try to show that actually US dollar is flowing outside US market. So we're facing a very, so previously many people think whether we are facing a depression like the one happened in 1920 1929. So many people feel nervous. Many people just pull out their US dollars and try to put to some new channels, new opportunities. And I think this will raise some opportunities in the emerging markets. So the US dollar will flow into some different countries, different markets. So typically everyone is looking for growth. And to me, it's not only growth. Some of them just everyone is looking for life, I think. So for the existing. So after that, we were talking about. Looks like I only have 10 minutes, so I'll talk about a little bit about the opportunities. So I was talking about the post-pandemic opportunities in two ways. The first one is talking about it in a way of the markets. So if we're looking at the different big areas, so first the emerging markets, I would put a word here, said shuffling. So I'm talking about the trend of the US dollars and the trend of the globalization. I think this one definitely indicates that new globalization emphasizes new headquarters and new markets in the emerging market. So that embedded some very important opportunities. And also the capitals will be spreading out to emerging markets too. I would see, I saw many of the US investors start to looking at the new markets in the last couple of years. So it is a trend already exists. The third one is that the content and the media industry. I think everyone in this pandemic, during this pandemic period, everyone noticed this. People are spending the time within their rooms. So the content, media, gaming, those industries, people just spend time on their cell phones. So I think those industries embedded many very good opportunities. Talking about the United States, if we're talking about the US, I would see a keyword said recovering. We can see that many of the big companies like the Facebook and the Google, from the very first beginning of the lockdown time, they start to do some work to improve their internet stability. And also some of them, they try to produce some of the applications to improve the health for the customers. So I think this is a trend that many of the US companies were focusing on, the cybersecurity and also the healthy industry. And another one is that I think, because in US before, there's not a lot of the delivering services. The online purchasing is not very widely used here. But after the pandemic, I would see that many of the online opportunities are growing very fast. They are being accelerated by this opportunity. So the opportunities for product and service that keep people safe is very important in US. And we can see Amazon, Instacart, many of the important companies that building their business during this period of time. For China, I would say that it is evolving. So for the China market, it needs to transform into more agile supply chain. That means that many of the very concentrated supply chain need to spread all over the world, need to trading to some new areas. So we can see that some of the big Chinese companies, they try to build up the new locations in South Asia, in India. And I think those are very good trends that can help the local business to improve a lot. So talking about the opportunities in different industries, there are 4 different industries that I want to emphasize. But those are not the only 4. I know that many of you guys may have some different observations. So maybe you guys can share some other ideas in the Q&A part. To me, there are those 4 different sectors embedded some very good opportunities, and also our fund invested some of them. The first one I've talked about is the consumer market. Before that, we can see that Miniso and Oppo, those brands already expand to the new markets. And also the system stability. So this titanium, this company is invested by Salesforce last week actually. So it's a US cybersecurity company, and we would see that we will see many of this kind of investment happening in future. And also, I talked about the content industry. Those three companies are invested by Chinese or created by Chinese companies. The middle one, which called the Archio, it's a gaming company. It's invested by us. So the content just helping the people to entertainment themselves in their lockdown time in home. So there are some opportunities there. And the last one is the online business model. So we can see that many of the previously the traditional business moved to online. So there will be some more opportunities embedded there. So for the last part, just a brief introduction about ourselves. So we start to invest into the companies that are doing the business in Southeast Asia, in the emerging markets from 2016. So actually, for the early stage, we are the first one that in China invested in the emerging market. And for the right part, those companies are listed there, all our portfolios. So we can see that some of the portfolios, like the two red ones, some of you guys may notice those. One is the Hola. It's a social media company that doing the video social media application, and the other one is the Newsbreak. Newsbreak is a news platform which is the top one in US market. So and also some of the other companies are doing their business in India, in South Africa, like the Buffalo. They are doing the logistic in South Africa. The one called LoopScope, they doing the news platform in India. So this is the way that we're doing the investment, and at least some of the informations on the right part. You guys can just read this slide, so I won't spend time on that. Looks like it's 20 minutes. The last part is okay. So here I list the information of our company, and also I know Linda already have my information for the LinkedIn and also my email address. So and I heard that you guys have a WhatsApp group, right? So I can also be in that one too. So if you guys have some further discussions want to have with me, we can discuss a little bit about any topics related to today's presentation. Okay. So.
Thanks for Richard's speech.
No problem. Yeah. I precisely controlled my presentation in 20 minutes.
Yeah, that's good.
Okay.
Thanks for Richard's speech. Oh, we have more coming. So I saw some questions in the chat room. Maybe we can talk later.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a really refreshing and insightful speech on the post-pandemic market. Mm-hmm. If you're interested, please follow Richard on his LinkedIn account. Our assistant already typed his homepage link in the chat room. You can contact him. If you have some more questions or comments, you can also type in the chat room now, and we can discuss it more later. Yeah. Now let's go on our topic. It's time for our user speaker. So, sorry. Let's turn our attention to South Africa. We received, actually in this meeting, we received a lot of applications from our users. Thank you so much. And finally, Mr. Burgers from South Africa was selected as our user speaker. He's the managing director of NETCB, which was founded in 2003, and is the trusted advisor and service provider to a large number of customers in Africa. Mr. Burgers will talk about market changes in South Africa. I will stop sharing first. Hello, Mr. Burgers, are you there? Sorry, let me check. Oh, hello, Mr. Burgers, you can unmute yourself. I have to unmute you, sorry. Sorry.
There we go. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, thank you. You can start now.
Okay.
Sorry. Yeah.
No, thank you very much for inviting me to speak here. I think it's a great opportunity. Just a quick thank you also very much for that quick introduction of myself. Yes, I founded this company about in 2003. I've been in the information technology industry now for close on 35 years. Been around the block a few times. It actually already started in 1985 when I wrote my first software application and someone paid me for it. So, which was something that got me going into business since 1990 when I started my first business. If I talk quickly about our company, just a brief overview. We are based in South Africa, Pretoria in South Africa, but we service our clients across the African continent. We're very highly specialized in identity and security management technologies, as well as enterprise collaboration platforms. We developed our own records management system, which we implement for various organizations in this on this continent. Now, when you start to look at the impact of this whole COVID-19, first of all, in South Africa, this whole thing started beginning of this year when we started hearing about a pandemic or an epidemic at that point before it was classified as a pandemic. Our government during the course of March informed us to start to focus on social distancing, and there may be an impact on South Africa. And very soon we realized that it has entered the country, and they started with the first level 5 lockdown. We had quite a serious lockdown in this country, where everything was closed. Only essential services were allowed to operate, and the whole economy basically ground to a grinding halt. No traveling was allowed, no smoking, no alcohol, no restaurants, bars, clubs. Tourism basically had to shut down completely. In May, we were allowed to move up to a level 4 lockdown. That allowed some more people to return to the office, but only 30% of your staff was allowed back into the office. On June the 1st, we were allowed to open up a bit more. More people were allowed to go back to business as usual. But as things stand at the moment, it is increasing at an exponential rate. So we can't say that at the moment we are post-pandemic in South Africa yet. And I think we're still sitting before the real pandemic is going to hit us. At the moment, in June, for example, more than 50% of new cases were reported than the first 3 months of this pandemic. So we still see that things are still coming our way. We may even go back to a level 4 or a 5 lockdown in some areas that we expect. The impact of the lockdown so far has been quite severe. The industries that have been affected the most is specifically within the tourism and hospitality industries. They are also some of the biggest employers in the country. Unemployment has soared to over 30%, and people are expecting that to go even higher. They're talking up. I read an article yesterday that say that we may even go as high as 50% unemployment in the country. During the level 3 lockdown, the government has allowed for most of the businesses to reopen, but with various restrictions. So if you own a restaurant, then you are allowed to open if you can adhere to certain social distancing standards. If you cannot do that, you're only allowed to service takeaways, for example. You're still not allowed to sell or serve alcohol, for example. What a lot of companies have done was to retain their staff, but either without pay or with reduced salaries. So some people may still have a job, but they don't earn salaries, or only a fraction of what they used to earn. That already have got a huge impact on people and servicing the debt that they may have. We've already seen some businesses closing their doors. We have seen office parks being vacated as people say, well, we no longer need offices. So that is an industry that is changing significantly. Even our own organization, we've decided that this way of working remotely, we've seen a surge in productivity of my staff, and so we decided we're going to remain working like this, even if, let's say, in 2 or 3 years from now, there's no more issue around this pandemic, then we will maintain this way of working. Yes, we will always have an office or a physical location, but that will be our only location. Whereas the rest of the organization will always be mobile and part of a remote workforce. And that is how it specifically affected us. What the government has done to ease the impact of this impact on our economy, they introduced this past week a 500 billion rand stimulus package. Now, to convert it into US dollars, it varies from day to day because the South African currency is going up and down versus the US dollar. So when I calculated it yesterday, it converted into about 31 billion US dollars. That was a package, stimulus package that they released. We have a very well-defined unemployment fund in this country that is already being used by most businesses, even my own business, where we supplement our salary, our payrolls. So already we get at least a 10% contribution from the government and to supplement payrolls from that perspective, but only if your business before this lockdown was in good tax standing. So if your tax matters were not in order, sorry, then the government would not have been able to assist in that case. What also happened was various banks in the country offered deferred debt payment options to consumers. That also eased the people that's sitting now without any salaries, that they don't need to stress for the time that they're not earning a salary about all their debts. What also helps a lot is our government decided to follow the science in terms of the COVID-19. So they look at a very well-defined risk-adjusted strategy and how they now manage the regulations in terms of social distancing, which parts of the economy can be opened up. They may close down certain geographical areas based on a surge in infection rates. So you find that some areas of the country may go into a level 5 lockdown, where other areas may be on a level 2 lockdown. So it really depends on how the statistics tell us how the virus is affecting the country. Interesting, when I start to look at our information technology sector, you will expect that people that work within the information technology sector, that businesses would have been very prepared or be able to switch to a remote working kind of environment. I have seen how some of our partner companies, organizations that we work with, all of a sudden found themselves in a position where they had no capability of employing a remote workforce, or the infrastructure was not in place, or their staff did not have sufficient facilities or equipment to be able to work from home. And a lot of organizations were caught completely off guard when this happened. Another thing that we noticed as a huge demand within the ICT sector is basically each and every one of our clients came to us and asked for assistance for helping them to allow their people to work remotely. And that most of that work kept us so busy during the last 3 months that I could not believe how busy we as an organization was during this period. Another issue that we picked up, sometimes when you talk to clients, they say, and you try to establish a meeting with them, they will tell you, no, hang on for a couple of weeks. When things return back to normal, we can have a meeting. What we then started to tell our clients and to educate them and say that very quick or a couple of weeks, things coming back to normal is not going to happen soon. It is a new normal that we are sitting in. The traditional way of getting onto an aeroplane, flying to a different city, having a meeting with a client, those days are gone. It's not going to happen. It's going to happen soon. And we have noticed how overnight, where in the past, when you start to talk to organizations about digital transformation, it was always as if it was something in the distant future. Yeah, we will get there, the complete digital transformation of our organization. All of a sudden, that has shifted to the top priority of basically each and every one of our clients. That helped us quite a bit because I was one of the proponents of digital transformation for quite a number of years now. So we were pretty much prepared. One of the advantages that we had as an organization during this during this pandemic was the fact that we were very well organized in terms of working remotely. Our entire workforce, the way we work, the way we think about our business was already like that. We could work remotely. We implement some large-scale projects already on this continent from the comfort of my office where I'm sitting here. Then I will do work for a client, for example, in Dar es Salaam and in Tanzania. So we already had that kind of working mechanism and the technologies in place. So it was quite easy for us to transition overnight. So on midnight, the 26th of March, when the lockdown kicked in, the next morning, we as a company operated 100%. So what advantage we had was that we were classified as an essential service. And also because of 80% of my organization's work is government related, which helped us quite a great deal to stay in business. Servicing our clients now is remotely is on the order of the day. We made sure that each and every one of our staff is capable of working remotely. Where people had problems with certain internet connectivity, we make sure that we provision them very quickly overnight. Luckily, in this country, if you ask for internet service to be provided now, you can have connectivity within a day or two, even if you need to get a fiber connection. For that matter. Our 5G network is also now active in certain areas in the country, so that's already helping us quite a great deal. The one thing that did hit us quite a bit was where clients were not ready. Your clients were not capable of working remotely, and we had in some cases projects being suspended until such time the client could provision the staff to be able to work remotely as well. Another component, to close business, started to take a lot longer because clients cannot operate that well in a remote working fashion. And decision making has delayed some new projects from kicking off. I'm just happy that we as an organization was capable of switching completely over in a very sudden way. If we start to look at the positive impact this pandemic has had on us, we identified communication as the key to our own survival because we're not seeing each other. And to make sure that the company actually continues to operate continuously, our first priority was a very rigid schedule of communication. Every morning, the entire organization gets together on Zoom, on a video conferencing platforms, and we talk. We listen, and we talk, and we resolve problem areas that any of the staff members are foreseeing for that day before they break out into their team meetings. So the primary focus was communication. That in itself elevated communication into the company all the way onto the new level. We all of a sudden, new ideas started to flow. We could not understand this explosion of productivity that we saw within the organization. And we started to encourage our clients to follow the same principles. We even engage our clients also in a far more rigid meeting schedule. Not, okay, maybe I'll see you next week, or maybe we'll meet next month again. We now know, and our clients know, every month at that time, you have a meeting set up upfront with NetCB. Even if you have nothing to discuss, you will talk and you will sort out any matters that may arise in that meeting. The one thing that we did a lot before this was our travel costs that were reduced by up to 90%. We always had a massive travel bill. We used to travel to our clients. We used to visit the clients where they were. I myself have traveled to over 200 cities in the world so far in my life. So traveling we are known as the traveling consultants in this country. That has changed overnight. And obviously, by having all that cost that you used to spend on traveling, you now invest in these kind of remote technologies. What we've seen are new software development projects that all of a sudden initiated inside our organization. We saw how our model for rapid digital transformation finally started to make a lot of sense to our clients. We went from one real new client contact per month to over 30 new client contacts per month. That is how this whole new way of working has affected us in our organization. We have a very specific approach when we start to talk about rapid digital transformation. The whole thing that was problematic for clients when they look at digital transformation is that it is sometimes very complex. So we went in to simplify the way people experience in this whole new digital world without making too many changes to what they already have in place, and allow the organizations to still be able to access information from any device. That was very critical in being able to bring your remote workforces, where people may not even have a laptop at home, but they may have a smart device, but they now can use the smart device to participate within that. We leverage open source platforms extensively because of the currency that tanked the day before the lockdown. Our currency fell significantly. We lost in the last year, and the first few months of this year, we already lost quite a significant value of the South African rand versus the US dollar. So in many cases, technology, when you purchase it from the rest of the world, may cost up to 20 to 30% more because of the loss of value in our own currency. So making use of open source platforms also made a lot of sense. But at the same time, because we are operating in such highly regulated industries, working for government and some financial sector organizations, we also had to ensure the complexity for people working remotely introduces a host of new compliance management, regulatory compliance management issues that we also had to maintain during this whole digital transformation process. What we see from our company and looking forward, we will continue on this path in guiding our clients on this rapid digital transformation road. As a company, we decided that even if they discover a vaccine tomorrow and we all can get vaccinated within a couple of months, we will maintain this way of working. It helped us to discover a lot of new opportunities in the way we work, the way we talk to our clients, the way we present ourselves as an organization. Our own developed records management platform has all of a sudden became a top hit with our clients because it helps them to take paper into digital format. That helped us quite a bit, that we were very well geared for this kind of scenario. The way our own operations have changed for the better, to the benefit of our clients, helped us significantly. We expect a significant growth for our rapid digital transformation model in the coming months. When we start to look at expansion of the company, because we are in a new growth phase of the organization, we decided that we will remain self-funded, which, although we keep the door open sometimes for investors if they are interested, but so far we've been well self-funded over the years. When we start to look at post-pandemic and the future, I put a question mark next to post-pandemic because I don't think in this country we can talk about post-pandemic yet. We're not in that phase at the moment. When we speak to our clients, we speak to our staff, our friends, we try to educate them that this is the new normal. Expecting to go back to the old normal is actually an imagination, because I don't think within the next 2 to 3 years, we will actually go back to the old way of doing things. And by that time, our new way of thinking about working would have been entrenched so much into the way we do business. I always say, rather ask, when will the next pandemic hit? And will we then be ready so that we don't need to lock down this much when that happens? I think society must also learn to start to listen properly to vetted science and not always to the whims of politicians. I think science needs to take a step up to tell us and make sure that the right facts always come out. Um, and we need to reinvent society and economics as we go forward. This post-pandemic will only be in a few years, but it will be a new world. So thank you for your time. I hope I enlightened you on how things are on this side of the globe.
Thank you. Thanks for Mr. Berger's sharing. Can you stop sharing now so I can share?
Okay.
Thank you. We got some questions from the chat room. I hope we can discuss immediately because of the time. I see the first question is how blockchain can help in pandemic of COVID-19 in the country. Can Richard answer this question? Blockchain, he talked about.
Oh yeah, definitely. So recently, at least from the last year, we can see that many of the cross-border business that using the blockchain technologies, and also for the ones that related to the cybersecurity and some other like fintech stuffs, they are using the blockchain technology. I think this is a very good solution for not only the startups that many of the investors can also using the blockchain related stuffs to improve their business model. So I think definitely there are some opportunities embedded there. And also, I think the pandemic improved. We can see improve. Actually, the pandemic and also the COVID-19 offer us the opportunity to reconsidering to use the blockchain technology. So we are actively looking at the potential portfolios in this industry. I think there's some inspiration there.
Yes, thank you. And another question. Sorry. There's one who asked, considering such a complex environment, whether there will be a strong regional opportunity in this area. I think he means Southeast Asia regional opportunity. How can companies here seize the opportunities for development in the fierce global competition? He asked about
Okay.
the.
Yeah, I'll give one or two examples. So firstly, I talked about the new globalization. So I think firstly, the manufacturing will transfer a lot from China and the US to the Southeast Asia market. I think this is a trend, and also India, some like Africa market too. So I think this is a trend that this trend will bring lots of new opportunities. For example, if we build up a factory, there must be a lot of the young employees working in those factories. So they will be consumers. They will purchase the daily goods they need. They will do the online shopping. They will need the entertainment. So I think a lot of the economies can be generated from there. So I think that's something that can discuss in future. So I think definitely there will be some other opportunities too. I'm also glad to hear the different opinions from different friends. So yeah, that's my answer to that question.
Yeah, thank you. And there's one more question. If the traditional business engagement models no longer exist, what digital business we can do? I think this is a question we are going to discuss later in our discussion session. So maybe we can discuss later. And oh my God, there are so many questions. Oh, there's one question for Mr. Burgers. Sorry, I will mute you. I'll mute you. Would your service in NETCB be expanded to other countries in Asian region or some other regions in the world, maybe?
Yeah, yes, we can provide our service offering. Although we're focusing on Africa at the moment, it is possible for us to partner with any organization anywhere in the world now. The way we work, we actually don't care where you sit. Um, in fact, as our records management platform becomes more popular and maybe start to be implemented in other time zones, for example, we may also looking at establishing partners that can support it in those time zones specifically.
There are two more questions for Richard.
Yeah.
How many? It's from Bobby. Maybe you want to speak, or I can read your questions. You can speak up, or I can read.
Yeah.
How many Indonesian companies that Grandview Capital have
Hi,
helped
Richard.
so far?
Hi, Bobby.
Oh, he can talk. Thank you.
Okay,
You
should
can
I
ask.
read my own
Yeah,
questions
I
or you
already
can?
read that.
Oh, yeah.
I think I can directly answer those. So firstly, we have some investments for the companies that are doing the business in Indonesia. Definitely, Indonesia is a very big market, and also it has a large amount of the young consumers. I mean, so it is very important, and we can see that many Chinese VCs they are traveling to Indonesia and do the investment there. And also the picture I use in this in the post for HoloBase is token in Indonesia's Google office. So I travel there a lot too. And then for us currently, we are actively helping three of the Indonesia portfolios to expand their business and also to push them into the next round. I can't tell too much about that, but the answer is yes. And the second question is that how does your company access and better startup company can be funded? Okay, this one, I mean, this one varies a lot. So actually, we're facing different industry sectors actually. So we invested into TMT companies, we invest into the commercial companies, and their standards are different. And especially for the TMT, actually we looking at more companies that currently we're looking at more opportunities related to the content, entertainment, and also the to-B business. So those ones are the ones that we are very interested at. My partner, he invested Musically, which called TikTok right now. He is the first one that invested in Musically. So from then on, we focusing on this kind of entertainment applications a lot. Okay.
Thanks for Richard's answer. And due to the time limitation, the Q&A session is over now. Sorry, I have to mute you guys first. And if you have more questions for Richard, you can talk to him via LinkedIn or email. So here is the question that I want to discuss with all of you. Okay, is our for the discussion session. So in the post-pandemic era, what new opportunities are emerging in the world for entrepreneurs? Maybe you can share with us in your country. So how can we turn the corner and seek new opportunities in this post-pandemic world? Richard already shared some of his ideas. Maybe others, anyone wants to speak up, maybe? What about Jackie? You want to speak, maybe? You want to share some thoughts?
Is that what, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Perfect.
Yeah, the question, yeah.
I heard the question.
Oh, okay, thank you.
I think that certainly in Australia, cybersecurity is of primary concern. so I'll just a short version. So cybersecurity, I think, obviously presents huge opportunities. My particular area of passion is health and taking a preventative approach as opposed to trying to deal with the issues post. And so that's what our business relates to. So, and then I think the final thing is looking for opportunities that can be taken online, because as the speakers said, traveling for meetings and things like that is just no longer an option, which is really interesting. And funnily enough, I had a meeting scheduled in China for February, because that meeting, they wouldn't have it online. They wanted us specifically to travel there. And this is a huge company in Beijing. So it'll be really interesting now to see whether they'll now start to have those meetings online. So I think essentially we need to be looking for businesses that can be delivered digitally, quite simply, really.
Yeah. I think that's what Mr. Burgers talked about.
Mm.
Yeah. Anyone else want?
I think also, could I just add one final thing? I think I think now is a really perfect time to collaborate instead of trying to do everything yourself. I think now is a perfect time to collaborate, and say, using us as an example, we should be talking to more scientists for their view on certain health aspects, universities, private companies, because the information that we will get out of those sort of collaborations saves years of work. So I think collaborating to grow is critical.
Yes, of course.
Thank you.
Thank you. So what about Richard? What do you think? Some people also ask about what digital business we can do. That's
the answer can be various, because it doesn't mean that the traditional industries will vanish in the past. You know, if we're talking about the new opportunities, we need to facing that whether the past business will be changed or will vanish totally. You know, so for example, many people will think about Airbnb will be influenced a lot, and I know some rumors that in China said that Airbnb got bankrupt, and today I called one of my friends in Airbnb, and they said that their data recovered to the same level as last year. So I will say that the trends change a lot, and the fact is going to the direction actually many of us didn't predict before. It will be a very hard to see answer, and based on the question here about the digital industries, I would say that some of the related to the entertainment, and also some business models like the consumer market, like the online digital, the e-commerce, those stuffs, I think will be very interesting areas in many of the emerging markets, and I think those are the good opportunities, and we are actively looking the opportunities similar.
Yes, thank you. Yeah. Oh, we have users who want to share. Mr. Tan, can you speak up?
Yep. Hi everybody, I'm Yenzhen here. I'm from Singapore. Yeah, thanks Linda.
Hi.
Yeah,
Hi.
and great stuff. Yeah, I think both Richard and Mr. Burgers as well as Jackie, who pointed out quite interesting stuff. I'm actually coming in from the angle of we do marketing technology here in Singapore, so for the entire Asia Pacific. So I think the interesting thing is that what we noticed that prior to COVID, we focus a lot on marketing technology and the technology itself that we developed here. However, as we see the pandemic going on and we talk about digital transformation needs for a lot of companies and organizations, I do see that we are actually focusing a lot more on, besides the technology, and it's harder to sell technology right now, although a lot of companies want it, but everyone wants it cheap to implement, to deploy quickly quickly, the services part is also quite interesting, where we notice there's an uptick in trends where they do not have a lot of resources to work on the digital services they're going to implement or digital resources that they're going to use, and they need a lot of service. So that's why we started to go back to our agency work as a marketing agency to help them work a lot on the stuff and help them blend in. I want to see whether everyone actually sees that as also an important thing in this critical stage where we are trying to implement a lot of technology and a lot of digital solutions, but also the services is kind of a big gap here, at least I guess, especially to traditional industries or clients.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing. And we have one more user who wants to share. You can speak up. Hi.
Hello.
Hey, hello. Yeah.
Yes.
You can speak up.
So,
Thank you.
when we are speaking about the digital transformation, then it should be the number one point is e-learning. E-learning, making people development within them is to be making them as the e-learning. We have to use the e-learning material. And number two is we have to deal with the basic needs that is required in the pandemic situation. Delivering the basic needs such as groceries or the vegetables or whatever it is, making the people comfortable with the digital transformation will help in this particular point. And the third thing is when a person is feeling depressed, then digitally we are able to, we have to be making them come inside and we have to boost them with the digital transformation. We have to call them and we have to speak with them in the digital part.
Sorry, your connection is like really bad, so we can't hear you clearly. Did you join our WhatsApp group? Maybe you can talk more in our group later. Sorry,
Sure.
the connection is like really bad. Sorry. Oh, sorry. I have to mute you. Anyone else wants to share? So, okay. Actually, this is also the topic of our next upcoming event. Let me share my screen first. I introduce something about our next event. Sorry. Okay. Our next coming event is on 12th July with the theme of the current situation and changes in venture capital in Southeast Asia after the pandemic. We invited Jonathan Zhong, the founding partner of ATM Capital, to share his idea with us. ATM Capital is an early to growth stage venture fund rooted in Southeast Asia. The capital base and the team combine background and investment experiences from Alibaba, Tencent, and financial and top Southeast Asian internet companies such as Rocket Internet, Gojek, and Garena. He will talk about the new opportunities emerging from the pandemic, especially in Southeast Asia. So if you're interested in the current situation of Chinese investment in Southeast Asia and Chinese VCs predictions and focusing points on the Southeast Asian market, don't forget to sign up for our next event. Also for the seat of our user speaker for the next event is open for sign up. If you're interested, please contact us. Okay, thank you all for your amazing sharings. The above is all the content of this online meeting. We're especially grateful to Richard and Cobus for the insightful and profound thoughts. Thank you so much. At the same time, in the following interesting discussions, we also gained a lot of valuable opinions from all of you. I believe that we all got something out of this meeting, right? So thank you again for your participating and contributing to HoloBase community. Our team will send actually a questionnaire in the chat room, and we are so honored to have you as our members. If you haven't signed up for HoloBase, you can go to our website or download our app. And you haven't joined our HoloBase community on WhatsApp, there is a link for you in the chat room that you can join. And you can also welcome to invite your friends to join us. Also, thank you so much for overcoming the time and geographical differences to participate in our event. By the way, after the meeting, we will sort out the content and we will share it with you and with other HoloBase users who did not participate in this meeting, and with our Chinese users through our parent company, Gitpark, which is a leading tech media in China. So can you help us fill in the question there? It's a Google form. Thank you so much. And if you'd like to participate in our next upcoming event on 12th July, please contact us on WhatsApp and there will be emails about it. If you have any questions or comments, please feel free to contact us. Thank you so much for your attention and time. Thank you.